Hello, viewers. In today's type study of algae, let us look into an organism that is called Exuviaella. Now, this organism belongs to the division Pyrophyta as per classification, wherein he has divided all the algae into 7 divisions. So, one of those divisions is Pyrophyta, and Exuviaella belongs to the Pyrophyta group. Under Pyrophyta, it belongs to the class Desmophyceae, order Prorocentrales, family Prorocentraceae, and genus is Exuviaella. This is actually an older name of the organism. Presently, the organism is called as Prorocentrum, and there are different species of Prorocentrum. But when it was called Exuviaella, these are some of the important species under that. So we have Exuviaella antarctica, Exuviaella lima, Exuviaella marina, cordata, caspica, and baltica. All of these are some of the important species of the genus Exuviaella, which belongs to the Pyrophyta group of organisms. This group of organisms is mainly composed of the dinoflagellates and the desmoflagellates, all of which are very known causes, or they are known to cause algal blooms in water, not only in fresh water but even in marine water. In fact, we even have red tide, which is caused in the oceans. It's an algal bloom in oceans, which is caused by certain species of dinoflagellates. So these Exuviaella are all coming under the dinoflagellates and desmoflagellate group, which are known to cause algal blooms in water bodies. Additionally, some of the group members also produce toxins when they cause the bloom, which has been associated with shellfish poisoning and ciguatera poisoning. So, Exuviaella is one such organism which is coming under this group of algae. Now, the organism is found in the oceans, so it is a marine water organism. It is mainly seen in the warm water regions, and even in the seas, it is found in the littoral region or the tidal region of the seas. It lives in the sand of the tidal zone, and in the coastal environment, when we say littoral, it can also be interchangeably used as tidal. So it lives in the tidal zone, and this includes the area up to the high water mark. When it is high tide, the water mark where it comes till that area, whatever area you see, that is the tidal zone or the littoral zone when we talk about in the sea. So this organism, Exuviaella, is existing as a phytoplankton in this littoral or tidal zone. In fact, it is found only in the warm water, and one of the warmest oceans that we have in the world is Indian Ocean. So it's very common in the warm water oceans, especially in the Indian Ocean. In fact, it is such a dominant phytoplankton that it is also important as food material for the other invertebrates like the planktons, the zooplanktons, or for fishes, for mollusks. Even those organisms feed on Exuviaella, and it is an important species in the ecological pyramid. So, the organism, when we look into its structure, this organism is having a heart shaped structure. The thallus is heart shaped or rounded in shape or elliptical in shape, and it is having a very small size, or maximum it can range from a small to a medium size. The maximum size it reaches is 100 micrometers in diameter. So the size can vary from 15 to 100 micrometers, but it will be in this kind of a heart shape or a rounded kind of a shape or an elliptical kind of shape. The organism is having a thecate body or a thecate thallus, which means it is having an outer shell. There is an inner growth zone, and surrounding the growth zone, there is an outer shell which we call as the theca. So the theca consists of two halves or two plates, and these two plates are called as the valves. These valves are essentially made up of cellulose. So it is a cellulose filled valve or a cellulose filled shell or theca that we are talking about, and the valve is studded with, or it is completely covered with, small porous canals which are called as the warts. So throughout the surface of the valve we can see small pores which are called as the canals or the warts. These warts can be either present on the margin of the plate or margin of the valve, or they may be randomly scattered throughout the valve. So entire shell can be covered, or it might be only the margin that is covered with these porous canals or warts. These warts have a size of up to zero point 0.6 micrometers diameter. So you can imagine how small they are when compared to the entire body or size of the organism. In between the valves, in between the two shells, we have the intercalary band. So you can see over here, this is the intercalary band which is overlapping, and these are the two valves. In between the two valves, we have the intercalary band, which serves as the growth zone. This is the zone where actually the organism is growing, because this is the zone which has the protoplast, which is having the cytoplasm, the organelles, all of it is present in this intercalary band, which is the growth zone. And this band tends to get bigger in the larger cells. As the cells grow older, the intercalary band size also keeps growing on. So apart from all these, this organism is known to show a very typical flagellar arrangement. The organism has two flagella which are inserted apically, and the two flagella, out of the two flagella, only one of it is extending outside, which we call as the longitudinal flagellum, whereas the other flagellum, which is transverse in nature, is circling its base, or it is surrounding the base of the longitudinal flagellum. This kind of a flagellar arrangement is called as the desmocont arrangement. So it is not inserted in flagellar grooves, it is only inserted into an apical pore. Had it been inserted into grooves, we would have called it as the denocont arrangement. But here it is called as the desmocont arrangement, and that is why this organism comes under Desmophyceae class, because in desmocont arrangement, we have two flagella inserted apically or in an apical pore, and one of the flagellum is longitudinal, whereas the other one is transverse and encircling the base of the longitudinal flagellum. When we look into the intercalary zone or the intercalary band in this area, when we see the intercalary band, we can find the presence of all the cell organelles, because it is a eukaryotic organism. And along with the cell organelles, some of the notable ones are the chromatophores. So this organism is having plastid in the form of chromatophore, which is golden brown or brownish in color, because it contains more of xanthophyll and less of the other types of chlorophyll. So chlorophyll A is present because that acts as the reaction center pigment during photosynthesis. Along with chlorophyll A, there is also a small amount of chlorophyll C, but there is a very large quantity of xanthophylls. That gives a golden brown color to the plastid, and the plastid is now called as a chromatophore. The chromatophore can be saucer shaped or disc shaped in nature, and it has one or two pyrenoids, usually only one pyrenoid, but in some cases there may be more than that also. Usually there will be one or two chromatophores with one pyrenoid in them. Pyrenoid, like we have already studied, is the carbon concentrating mechanism, or that is where the dark reaction occurs. The nucleus is found in the center of the cell, and the reserve food is in the form of starch. Now, when we see the reproduction of the organism, this organism shows both asexual as well as sexual modes of reproduction. So the asexual mode of reproduction is by binary fission, as shown over here. So in the early stages, in the early fission stage, we can see that the two new flagella have been formed, or the flagella has got replicated, and then the valves lie apart, so that in the growth zone or in the intercalary band there is multiplication, and all the cell contents are getting doubled up. So the valves lie apart, leaving an area of naked protoplasm where the striated bands or the organism keeps multiplying at this area. And you can even see that they have formed all the cell contents. The entire cell content has doubled up, and now we have two cells, we have two new exuviella. Each one is going to form or regenerate the other half, the other valve. This is how the binary fission is taking place in case of exuviella. This is a part of asexual reproduction. But when we look into sexual reproduction, this organism shows sexual reproduction by production of haploid isogametes. Now, when we say haploid isogametes, it means both the gametes look similar, they have no morphological difference, and they undergo fusion with the help of conjugation. So, we have the two cells that have decided to undergo sexual reproduction come close with each other. There is no plasmogamy over here, which means the protoplast fusion doesn't take place, the entire contents don't fuse. Instead, only the male gamete passes into the female cell. Let us look how that happens. So the two cells come near each other and they are joined. At the point of joining, there is a small canal that is getting formed, and the male cell and the female cell now are going to act as the gametes. The male nucleus alone, only the male nucleus, which is now acting as the gamete nucleus, passes through the conjugation canal or the tube into the female cell. So now in the female cell, we have both the nuclei. The nuclei fuse to form a diploid nucleus, and now this diploid nucleus is going to undergo meiosis. So the diploid nucleus is called as the zygote, and that undergoes meiosis to form four haploid nuclei. Each of these four haploid nuclei gets covered with a layer of protoplasm, and a cytoplasmic membrane is getting formed over there. So we now have four cells that are being released. Four haploid exuviella are arising from this sexual reproduction. This is the process of sexual reproduction which is happening by the method of conjugation. But the points to remember here are that there is no plasmogamy, which means the protoplast does not get fused completely. And secondly, the gametes being formed are haploid isogametes. So this was about the structure, taxonomic position, and reproduction of Exuviaella, which is now no more a term that is being used. It is a redundant term, but this organism is existing in the form of another name, that is Prorocentrum. I hope this class has been useful to all of you, and I hope to see you in the next class. Thank you.